Hey friends, welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome to the dark side of true stories. I'm glad you're here. Before we dive in, I'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from? Drop your city, your state, or even your country in the comments below. It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel and who's brave enough to stay till the end. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. Because around here, the next story might just find you. Now, turn down the lights, put your headphones on, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. March 17th, 2020. Los Angeles was dead quiet, the kind of silence that presses on your chest. Streets once buzzing with life were now empty, smothered by the pandemic lockdown. It was just me and Martinez in the patrol car, parked on a deserted avenue, waiting for anything to happen. Then came the radio call at 7:23 p.m. Unit 1805. Welfare check at 1630 Richmond Street. Neighbors report screams. No answer at the door. We looked at each other. Martinez shrugged. Could be nothing. Could be worse. The house was in Silver Lake, an old residential area. Trees lined the narrow street, shadows stretching long in the dying light. The place looked normal enough. 2 stories, beige siding, porch light on. But no movement. We rang the bell. Knocked. No answer. We circled to the back. The gate was unlocked. Bad sign. The kitchen door creaked open at a push. Inside, everything was still. Too still. The kind of still that makes your neck tense. We stepped in, hands near holsters. LAPD. Anyone home? Nothing. The house looked lived in, but not personal. No photos, no clutter, no sound. Upstairs was the same. 3 rooms, all clean, untouched. A bathroom with a full tub of cold water. Not a single personal item in sight. Then the basement. The wooden stairs groaned under our boots. Cold air seeped from below. It smelled like mold and metal. Blood, maybe. In the corner, an old armoire, half open. Martinez moved toward it, slow. Before he could touch it, a loud bang echoed from upstairs. We bolted back up. The front door was wide open, and no one was there. That's when I knew we weren't alone in that house. We stood frozen in the living room, trying to make sense of what we had just seen. The front door, which Martinez had locked behind us, was now wide open. No footsteps, no sounds outside. Just a still, heavy silence pressing down on everything. Martinez drew his weapon, his eyes scanning the hallway. Maybe we weren't the only ones who came in, he muttered. I nodded, raising my flashlight. Let's clear it. Every room, top to bottom. We started upstairs. The hallway was lined with closed doors, each one a mystery waiting to be cracked open. The wooden floors creaked beneath our boots, not just from our weight, but like they were remembering the steps of someone else. The air was colder up there, like the house had stopped breathing. We entered the master bedroom first. It was sparse. Bed unmade, a dresser with a cracked mirror, dust thick on every surface except for the nightstand where a phone charger lay neatly coiled, and a glass of water still half full. Recently used. Someone had been here. Maybe still was. As I moved toward the bathroom door, I caught movement in the mirror, but when I turned, nothing was there. Just Martinez behind me, focused on the closet. He opened it slowly, empty. Then came a soft knock. Not from the front door, from inside the house. 3 short taps, then silence. We both froze. It came again. This time, clearer. From downstairs. I looked at Martinez. He was already heading toward the stairs, weapon drawn. I followed. We swept the kitchen, the dining room. Nothing. But then we noticed the basement door open. We had both seen it closed when we first arrived. Martinez raised his eyebrows. I nodded. We descended slowly. This time the air felt thick, unnatural, like we were moving through something that didn't want us there. Our flashlights barely cut through the dark. The room at the bottom was large concrete walls, unfinished. A single bulb hung from the ceiling, swaying gently as if someone had just brushed past it. A workbench stood in the corner, covered with dust and old tools. But then I saw something strange, an old police radio, the kind not used in years. It was turned on. Static buzzing from it, low and constant. I stepped closer. Then, a voice. Faint. "Don't go back upstairs." I whipped around. Martinez was on the far side of the room, flashlight aimed at an old file cabinet. "You say something?" I asked. "No." "You?" We stared at each other for a second. Neither of us had spoken. That's when the radio cut out, and the basement light flickered once, then died. Darkness swallowed everything, and in that void something moved. The light had gone out completely. My flashlight flickered weak batteries. Martinez's beam stayed steady, but he was on the other side of the room. I couldn't see him clearly, just his silhouette and the narrow halo of his light. We stood still for several seconds listening. Then tap, tap, tap. Footsteps. But they weren't coming from the basement stairs. They were coming from inside the basement, from behind the furnace. Martinez swung his flashlight in that direction. Nothing, just the curved metal surface and rusted pipes. But I heard it again, another step. Bare feet on concrete, soft but deliberate. I moved toward him slowly, weapon raised. "You hear that?" I whispered. "Yeah," he said. "Something's not right." There was a low groan of old wood above us, like someone shifting their weight on the floorboards upstairs. But we were supposed to be alone down here. Suddenly, a bang, metal slamming against metal. We both turned to the far corner where an old metal locker stood, its door now slightly open, swaying. Neither of us had touched it. Martinez approached it cautiously. I covered him. He grabbed the handle and yanked the door wide. Nothing inside, just cobwebs and dust. And then breathing. Right behind me. I turned, flashlight flailing through the dark. Nothing. No one. But I knew I wasn't imagining it. That low, steady exhale. It had been right at my neck. "Let's go," I said, louder than I meant to. "We're clearing this place and calling it in." Martinez didn't argue. We climbed the stairs quickly, every step feeling like it took too long. When we reached the main floor, we stopped cold. The front door, locked again, from the inside. And this time the chain was back in place too. We hadn't touched it. Martinez looked at me. His voice was flat. "You locked it?" I shook my head. "I didn't touch it." We stared at the door for a long second, then turned to the living room and froze again. All the furniture had been moved. The couch was now pushed against the far wall. The coffee table was upside down, and a single dining chair was positioned directly in the middle of the room, facing us, like someone had been waiting. I raised the radio to call dispatch. Static. Then the sound of someone walking upstairs again. Heavy. Purposeful. Martinez said nothing, just headed to the staircase. I followed, every instinct screaming not to. This wasn't just a noise investigation anymore. We weren't alone, and whoever was here, they wanted us to know it. The stairs creaked beneath our boots with each step. Martinez was ahead of me, his flashlight cutting a path through the thick dark like a blade. My hand stayed tight on my sidearm. I kept my breathing shallow. There was something off about the air up here. Still, heavy, like it hadn't moved in years. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched out, 4 doors, all closed. Bedrooms, probably. Maybe a bathroom. Maybe worse. We paused, listening again. Silence. Then something faint, a slow, rhythmic creaking like an old rocking chair, coming from the last door on the left. Martinez looked back at me. He didn't have to say anything. I nodded. We moved forward. First door, empty room. Boxes, dust, faded curtains. Second door, bathroom, mildew, broken mirror, and an empty medicine cabinet. Third door, bedroom, sheets on the floor. Closet door cracked open. I didn't want to look inside, but I did. Just clothes. Nothing else. Then the last door. The creaking had stopped. Martinez reached for the knob. It was cold. Ice cold. He turned it slowly. The door opened with a reluctant groan. Inside, a child's bedroom. Outdated wallpaper peeling in strips. A twin bed. Small desk. Shelves with broken toys. On the far side of the room, a rocking chair, now still. Empty. We stepped in. Every part of me screamed to get out. I didn't know why. It wasn't just the room. It was the feeling, like we weren't supposed to be there. Then something snapped behind me. I turned fast. Nothing. But the door was closed. I didn't close it. Martinez didn't either. I moved to open it. It wouldn't budge. Locked. From the outside. Martinez jiggled the handle. Nope, it stuck. I backed away from the door and turned to the rest of the room just in time to see the rocking chair start to move. Just a little. Back and forth. And then we heard it. A soft giggle. A child's voice. Faint. But it came from inside the room. Martinez's flashlight cut across the shelves, the desk, the corners. Nothing. The voice came again. "Play with me." I felt ice in my chest. "You heard that?" He nodded, eyes wide. We moved toward the corner of the room where a small closet door sat slightly open. Martinez signaled me with 2 fingers. He swung the door wide. Empty. No, not quite. There were scratches on the inside of the door. Fingernail scratches. Hundreds of them. And in the back, half hidden by a pile of old blankets, a small, tattered doll. Its eyes glass and lifeless, stared straight at me. Martinez picked it up, then paused. The room went colder, and then we heard the voice again, right behind us. "Don't take my toy." I spun around, sidearm raised. But there was no one behind us. Just that empty room and the rocking chair now swaying on its own. Martinez dropped the doll like it burned him. "I'm done," he muttered. But before we could move toward the door, a sudden thud came from beneath the floorboards. Once, twice. Then silence. We stared at the floor. My eyes followed the grain of the old wood, noticing something I hadn't before, irregular gaps between a few boards near the bed, like they'd been lifted and set back, not nailed down. Another thud. Closer this time. "Someone's under there," I whispered. We pulled the bed aside, revealing the uneven boards. Martinez knelt, pried at the edge with his knife. The board lifted with a dry creak. Underneath, darkness. A crawlspace, maybe. Dirt. Cold air drifted out, sharp with the smell of rot and old earth. I aimed my flashlight into the gap. At first, just black. Then something moved. "Back up!" I barked, and we both staggered away. A hand. Small. Pale. It reached out, touched the floorboard edge, then slid back down into the dark. Neither of us moved for several seconds. Martinez finally said, "We need backup." He pulled the radio from his shoulder and tried calling dispatch. Nothing. Just static. He tried again. "Dispatch, this is Unit 1805. We need immediate backup at..." The radio cut off mid-sentence, and then we heard it again, the voice. But this time it was louder. "You weren't invited." We both stepped back as the air in the room seemed to tighten. Martinez's flashlight flickered. The floorboard we had pried open, it slammed shut, hard enough to rattle the windows. And then silence. My breathing was too loud in my own ears. I stepped forward cautiously, checking the floor again. The gap was gone, as if it had never been opened. I tried the door, still locked. Martinez had backed against the wall, his hand twitching near his holster. "Something's wrong with this place," he said. "Yeah, no kidding." Then, as if someone had been listening, the lock clicked. The door creaked open on its own, just like that. Martinez looked at me. "You go first." I didn't argue. We stepped into the hallway, guns up, eyes scanning. But the hallway, it had changed. It looked longer. Much longer. And none of the doors were the same. Martinez cursed under his breath. "We're not in the same house anymore," I said. We walked in silence, the hallway stretching ahead longer than it should. The wallpaper had changed, once a faded floral pattern, now water-stained stripes that peeled like dry skin. There were no windows, no signs of outside light. Just a single bulb hanging from a cord overhead, swaying ever so slightly, though there was no breeze. I glanced back. The door we'd come through? Gone. Just more hallway behind us. "This isn't real," Martinez whispered. "It can't be." I didn't respond. My grip tightened on my flashlight. Every instinct screamed for me to run, but there was nowhere to go except forward. We passed a mirror on the wall cracked down the middle. I glanced at it. Our reflections weren't right. Mine was delayed by a fraction of a second, and Martinez? His face was turned, staring at me, even though in real life he was looking straight ahead. We kept walking. One door on the left, closed. Number 3 barely hanging by a nail. We passed it, then another, also 3. "Did we just pass that?" I asked, stopping. Martinez nodded. "Yeah, we did." I turned back. The hallway was different again. The lights above us blinked, and this time, when they came back on, we weren't in a hallway at all. We were in a kitchen. Old, dusty, outdated appliances. A pot sat on the stove, still steaming like someone had just left it. On the table, 2 plates, 2 chairs, 2 half-eaten meals. One chair was still rocking slightly. Martinez whispered, "Nope, nope, I'm done." But as he turned toward the door behind us, it slammed shut. We both flinched. My heart hammered in my chest. I walked toward the table, my flashlight catching a glint of metal. A badge. Old. Tarnished. "LAPD," I read aloud. The name had been scratched off violently. Martinez leaned over my shoulder. "What the hell is this place?" That's when we heard a phone ringing. A landline. Somewhere in the next room. Ringing. Neither of us moved. Ringing. The sound felt like it was inside my skull. "Don't answer it," Martinez said quickly. "Don't." But I couldn't help it. My feet moved on their own, like I was being pulled. Into the next room. An old study, books scattered across the floor, furniture covered in sheets. The phone was sitting on a desk in the corner, rotary style, still ringing. I picked it up. Static. Then a voice. My own. "Why did you come back?" Click. I dropped the phone like it was on fire. From behind me, I heard Martinez say, "We need to find a way out." I turned, but he wasn't there. He was gone. Just like the hallway. Just like the door. Just like everything else. And then, in the far corner of the room, the rocking chair began to move again. I stood frozen in the center of the study, my flashlight beam shaking in my hand. I called out softly at first, then louder, "Martinez." Nothing. I moved toward the hallway where Wed entered, but the door was gone. Just solid wall now, lined with crooked frames and peeling wallpaper. The rocking chair creaked again behind me, steady and rhythmic. I turned my light toward it, but it had stopped, as if it had never moved. I called dispatch on my radio, Unit 1805, requesting immediate backup at 1630 Richmond Street. Officer missing. Repeat, officer missing inside the residence. Static. Then, faintly a whisper. He never left. I dropped the radio. The flashlight flickered again. I slapped it, desperate to keep the beam alive. Every shadow in that room seemed to crawl toward me. Then I heard it. Footsteps, from above. Deliberate. Heavy. Slow. There hadn't been an upstairs when we entered the house. At least we hadn't seen stairs. But now, just past the edge of the study, there they were. A staircase, steep and narrow, leading into pitch black. Every part of me screamed not to go up there, but Martinez was my partner. I couldn't leave him. I began climbing. Each step groaned under my weight. Halfway up, I paused. Something smelled like rust and wet earth, the kind of scent you find at a crime scene days too late. The air grew colder. At the top, a narrow hallway, doors on either side. I called out again. "Martinez," this time a sound. Knocking. 3 slow knocks. From behind one of the doors on the left. I approached it carefully, trying the handle. Locked. "Martinez?" My voice cracked. Another knock. Same rhythm, but not from the door anymore. Now it was behind me. I spun around. The hallway was empty, still. But the door behind me, slightly open now. I could see inside. A child's bedroom, dust-covered toys, drawings pinned to the wall, and in the corner a small bed. Something under the covers. A shape. Unmoving. I stepped inside. The door creaked shut behind me. I moved closer, reaching out, heart pounding against my ribs. Just as I touched the edge of the blanket, it jerked. I stumbled back, crashing into a nightstand. My flashlight clattered to the floor, rolling, its beam spinning across the room like a carousel of shadows. The bed was empty now, the shape gone, but on the wall behind it, there was a photo, me and Martinez, taken recently, but in the background barely visible a figure, standing behind us watching. I stood staring at the photo for what felt like minutes. My mind tried to rationalize it, maybe it was edited, planted here to mess with me. But that didn't explain how it ended up in this sealed-off room or how that figure, the one standing behind us, had the same outline it'd seen in the hallway shadows. I needed to find Martinez, or get out. Preferably both. I yanked open the door and bolted back into the hallway. The stairs were gone, just a long corridor now stretching into darkness. A dim light flickered at the far end. Something about it felt man-made, not like the rest of the house. I walked toward it slowly, flashlight back in hand, my boots echoing against warped wood. The door at the end was steel. I hesitated before pushing it open. What I saw inside didn't belong in this house hell. It didn't belong anywhere near reality. A room filled with screens, dozens of them, stacked in rows, mounted to the walls. Old CRT monitors buzzed softly, some flickering, others glowing green with static. Each screen showed live footage. One showed the outside of the house, our patrol car still parked. Another showed the kitchen we had entered. Another, the living room, empty now. But the ones in the center, they showed people. Not just any people. Missing people. Men, women, children, each sitting still in dimly lit rooms, staring forward, expressionless, like they were waiting or watching. Some of the footage was grainy, clearly old. Others looked like they were being filmed right now. I moved closer, trying to make sense of it. And then I saw it. One of the screens flickered and showed me, right now, standing in that exact room, from a high corner angle. I spun around. A tiny camera sat above the door. The air felt heavier, tighter. On a table in the center, VHS tapes stacked neatly, each one labeled with a name and a date. I picked one at random. Martinez 03172020 initial contact. My blood ran cold. Next to it, another. Cooper 03172020. Observation begins. That was my name. I heard something click behind me. The screen showing me. Now it was black, but a new feed appeared. Martinez. He was in a room small, dark, like a bunker. He looked exhausted, pale. He wasn't restrained, but he wasn't moving either. He turned slowly to face the camera. And then, he smiled. A slow, unnatural smile. One that didn't belong to him. And then he mouthed something. I couldn't hear it, but I understood. "You're next." I backed away from the monitors, my hand trembling. I'd seen a lot in my career, crime scenes that haunt you for years, but nothing like this. I tried to call for backup. No signal, not even static. This house was buried in some kind of dead zone, intentional, I realized. I turned back to the table. The tapes, they weren't just labeled with names. Some had times, durations. One of them said, extraction 72 hours. Another, behavioral drift 14 days. What the hell kind of operation was this? That's when I noticed a thick binder on a rusted shelf. I opened it. Inside were printed logs, observations, notes. Subject 014, initial resistance to isolation. By day 4, exhibiting signs of memory erosion. By day 7, responding to commands. Commands, another page. Subject 011 terminated after attempting escape. Recommend neural reconditioning before next cycle. I felt sick. These weren't just missing people, they were test subjects. And someone, somewhere, had been watching all of this. I had to find Martinez. I followed the only path forward, a hatch door behind the monitor wall, half buried in dust. It creaked open, revealing a ladder. A wave of cold air hit my face, like a tomb exhaling. I climbed down slowly, every step echoing like a gunshot. The space below was concrete, sterile, almost clinical. Dim lights lined the ceiling, flickering like they hadn't been changed in years. Rows of metal doors lined both walls, each with a number etched into them. I pressed my ear to one. Nothing. The next one, faint breathing. The third, someone whispering something over and over in a language I didn't recognize. I turned a corner and stopped cold. Martinez was standing at the end of the corridor, his back to me. "Martinez," I whispered. He didn't move. I took a step closer. "Hey man, we need to go. Now." He turned slowly. His eyes, they weren't his. There was a distant emptiness behind them. Not fear, not confusion, just absence. "You shouldn't be here," he said. His voice wasn't quite right. "Martinez, it's me." He tilted his head slightly. "No. You were supposed to stay upstairs." I took a step back. He stepped forward, and from behind the other doors, I heard locks turning. Dozens of them. Metal creaked, hinges moaned, and then footsteps. They were all waking up. The sound of footsteps grew louder, faster, many feet moving in unison. I turned from Martinez and ran back through the corridor, past the heavy doors now creaking open, past voices, some crying, some laughing, some muttering nonsense, a chorus of fractured minds. I reached the ladder, climbed 2 rungs before a hand grabbed my ankle. "Martinez." He looked up at me. "You can't leave," he said calmly. "We're part of it now." I kicked free, scrambling up. I slammed the hatch shut, turning the bolt just as something heavy crashed against it from below. The impact echoed through the walls. I didn't wait. I ran through the basement, past the tapes, the monitor still flickering with silent footage of empty rooms, except now one showed me climbing the ladder just seconds ago. Live feed. I bolted upstairs. The front door was still open, but the night outside had changed. It wasn't the same as when we arrived. The streetlights were out. The fog was thicker, curling in through the doorway like smoke. But I ran into it anyway. And I ran until my lungs burned, until the house disappeared behind me. Eventually, I made it to a main road. A passing patrol car spotted me, and I collapsed in front of it, gasping out pieces of the story between broken breaths. They didn't believe me, of course. The house on Richmond Street was empty when they went back. No Martinez, no basement, no monitors. Just dust, and an old foundation where the floor had clearly never been disturbed. They said I'd been hallucinating. Stress, sleep deprivation, maybe a break from the job. I knew better. I left the force a week later. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't stop thinking about the tapes, the files, the logs, and Martinez. I saw him 2 months ago. Or I think I did. He was sitting on a bench outside Union Station in LA, just watching people. Dressed different, hair shorter. But I know what I saw. When I called his name, he turned slowly, like he expected me, and he smiled. Not a friendly smile. Not relief. A knowing smile. Like he was waiting for me. I left. I didn't speak to him. I haven't told anyone until now. But if you're hearing this, remember something. Not every missing person is truly lost. Some places change you, and some houses don't want you to leave.